thought this video may be good because it's habits that people from an older generation like mine that people today are not learning, that I thought may be important and you could share with your children or your grandchildren. And so the first one is writing hand letters. Instead of typing them, write it. And one of the things that they're not doing either is they're not teaching, cursive, and that's writing, right? And typing. They're learning more typing, and their handwriting is more of a print instead of a writing, a cursive. So that's one thing that I'm not going to be able to read it. So I think it's important to learn. The next one is using a regular paper map. And it's an M, and I just do it in a square like a map. I mean, I love my GPS, but I also know how to read a map. And as an interpreter driving everywhere, I had to really rely on that map, and it was a big city, so I had a book that I had to turn to which page, and then I'd open up the whole big city so I could see where I was going. But it really helps to know and to see kind of a layout of a city, especially if you're new to that area, because if you've lived there your whole life, you maybe already just know where things are or how it's set up. But if you're new, then seeing on like a paper, this big, paper map, then you can see it and how it's set up and how it's laid out, and which is north and south and east and west, and which ways you want to go. So it's really good to learn on a paper map as well. I don't know if they teach that anymore. This is one that I stopped doing, is memorizing phone numbers. Memorizing. You're taking the information in your head and you grab it. Memorize. You can only do it once, but I said memorizing. So that's actually kind of a plural in a sense, because it's not to memorize. Memorizing. I would probably do it twice if I did memorizing, but to memorize phone numbers. Taking the information, grabbing a hold of it and hanging on to it. Memorize. Because we just put names to the phone numbers, and then we just click on that name, or type that name, and then their phone number pops up. Most of the time we're not memorizing anymore. We don't have to. Okay. Regular family dinner with a D. Sorry, I haven't cut myself yesterday. A dinner without your cell phone, without your tablet, without your laptop. And so most of the time people aren't doing that anymore. So that is something that an older generation feels like it should be important to do that, so they can chat with the family members. Knowing how to do basic home repairs, like for example, like if your commode won't flush, or it's stopped up, you had to, or you open it up and look there, maybe the chain is broken, or that little stopper, the stopper it won't, it needs to be, or the flap inside, it's broken or whatever. So, or basic, plumbing, like underneath the sink, or I'm not really talking about like electrical, because that's dangerous. But they're saying just like basic a home repair, like for maybe your floor. I mean, just a little small, simple thing on how to do, because we have, we hire people, but then we can't afford that. We don't know how to do it, and so then it's just left, undone. But they're saying like, things on how to put up a bookshelf, or fix maybe like a hole in the wall or the floor, or something like that, that may be kind of simple. but it's mostly, with your sink or with your tub. And notice I do the shape sink, S, and tub. And yes, that's initialized, and only because when you do that, is it a big bowl? I mean, and a tub and a sink is a big bowl, but you don't really know exactly about the big, about what kind of big bowl that is. Okay. And then another one is to learn basic sewing skills. Now that doesn't mean that they have to learn like from a sewing machine. And this is how you sign sewing machine, because you have the machine and then you've got your material and you're doing this way because that's how you sew, right? That's sewing with a sewing machine. And then sewing by hand sewing is this. So most people should learn how to sew on a button, or how to sew a hem, or how to like maybe fix, maybe like you get a little hole in it, like my little cardigans are really thin, and so they may have a hole in it. You might want to know how to sew that, or something that's simple, but it can be repair, like, or if you're sock, and I know you can buy new, but if you can't afford it, or if you don't have the time, like it's immediately, like, oh, you wake up this morning, you can't, or last night, and you just don't have time to get something else. But it's good to know these basic sewing skills. You can learn, sewing. I think they're teaching more classes now. People are getting back to that skill, and it's important. Sewing your clothes. There was a time where it was cheaper to sew your clothes, and then it became more expensive to sew your own clothes. The patterns were so expensive, it was just weird. And then, but I think now people are getting back to that skill and learning how to do that. Skirt or something simple. Jackets or things with sleeves or a zipper, maybe a little bit harder, but buttons and sewing that on there is very important. Or any kind of a hole in your clothes, it's very important to know how to do that, to fix it. Or a hem, on your pants or your skirt. It's very simple to do. You don't need a machine. You can do it with your hands and sewing it. So that's another important skill. Going to the library and reading real books. It's really good for kids and adults, but we get accustomed to like reading on our Kindle or whatever, but there's something about a book and smelling that paper, but it's also exploratory. Like if you take your kids and you go to the library, they can look at all the different books and they can see them on the shelf or on a table, and they go, oh, I like that, or I saw that in school, our teacher read it to us and I really like that. And so they can go and learn how to use the library and to explore it. And also, if your kids are not in school, they'll have like a reading day, and so that's always enjoyable for children and parents. They like that too. So going to the library is still a good thing to do. It's a good skill to learn how to find a book in the library. And then also showing respect for older people. Sometimes children, they don't understand about older people if they can't get up and walk or run or play like they do, or they just going, I don't have anything in common. But older people, when I was growing up, we showed them respect, even though we may not understand what it's like to be old. We showed them respect, and if they don't do that, we didn't do that. We obeyed. So you can do obey. You take your hand, and if it's to someone, a human, you always kind of obey, and your head's always a little bit down because it is like being humble and obedient. If it's to a God, a higher power, then the obey is more you looking up, but you still have that same sign as obeying, but I'll obey, and your head down. That's just the sign for that. let's see, and arriving on time. Because I noticed that the younger generations, they don't have the same, I want to say ethic, but maybe it's not that. Maybe they just don't see the importance of being on time. When I first started work as a young person, you should arrive a little bit early. Um, Parking and getting out and getting your purse and whatever you need, and then arriving and going into the building or where you worked. And so you would arrive on time and you would clock in exactly at 8 o'clock in the morning, or like a minute before. They don't, employers, employees or employers or bosses, or companies, that would be your employer, they didn't like you arriving after 8 o'clock in the morning if that was your time schedule. But now there's more flexibility. Remember, we said plastic is also flexible. It moves. You're more flexible about arriving on time. However, I know that some jobs you really can't be late. Like for me as an interpreter, like if there's a class or a medical appointment, they're not going to wait on the interpreter. So you have to, drive and park and get your purse or whatever you need that's important. There's the list amount. You don't take a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, except if you work there permanently. But you probably need to go to the restroom. You need to find out where you're going. If your appointment's at 9 o'clock, you don't arrive in the parking lot at 9 o'clock. You would arrive maybe 15 minutes beforehand so you can do all those things, so you can be ready to work at 9 o'clock, because like meetings and those things, they don't wait. They're not waiting on you specifically. They're going to go ahead and start a class, an appointment, anything. If you're going to the doctor, whatever. I mean, I know they don't care if you sit and wait. Don't care. Don't care if you sit and wait. But if you arrive late and you sign in and it's late, then you're going to be, this is to be delayed or postponed. So, you can put off, or you put off and put off. So they will do that. Okay, but they want you to arrive on time. So it's a good habit to arrive on time. Also, handwritten calendars or planners. Many people don't use that anymore. They've gone paperless, and they have an online calendar. But it's always good to sometimes write in that, and you see it or post it, on your wall. I don't want to. Also, learning how to do creative crafts. Many young people don't know how to start at the beginning. I remember my sister and I would make, Barbie furniture, from scratch. We didn't buy that, and so sometimes people just want to buy like a craft kit, but there's something about just starting from scratch, the basics, way down here at the bottom with paper or scissors or pencil, and you just start thinking and, imagining, and this is also used for brainstorming, creative. To use that, it's always a good skill. I know I didn't realize how much time I was taking up. We did handwriting and reading books. And then also financial on paper, learning how to see where your money is going, where it's spent, and, the pluses and the minuses, and to deduct from your bank account. That is a lost skill. And I'm guilty of many of these myself, but it is good. We have so many like online things now that'll show your budget. And some people like me don't live by budget. And knowing how, basic cooking skills, like just making a sandwich, or cooking a simple meal like chicken and rice, or, a grilled cheese sandwich, or just maybe something simple like a hamburger, or spaghetti or those things that are really, it can be kind of easy because it's to your own taste, or you can follow a recipe, and there's simple recipes you can follow. It's more healthy and it's cheaper. So that's kind of lost art, is just simple cooking skills, and it's fun. So, um, short ways, if you can physically walk, that most of older generations would walk instead of driving just a short, distance. Um, and so, if you're able to walk, that's a good idea because it's good for exercise. Also, it's not using so much gas and all those kinds of things. I know sometimes we'll go, oh, it's just around the corner and we'll drive, right? So, and it depends on where you live, if it's dangerous or if it's night or whatever. But um, okay, and I think that's it. So I think that's 16 or close to. I think that I combined a couple of things. But those are things that are important to teach our children or our grandchildren or ourselves, and to learn to do again. Go, oh yeah, I need to do that because it's better for your mind and your budget. So practice and interpret and learn some new skills. And I'll see you later. Bye.